Hey everyone, it's the Vic-E, it's the -E, Vic-E, here for another Tuesday video. And before I start my video, I would like to ask you one little favor. Could you subscribe to my channel? I'm hoping to have over 100 subscribers by the end of October. So, if you could do me that favor, that would be of great help. Thanks in advance. Now, on to the video. I know you're wondering why I'm wearing this beautiful blue lipstick and these great blue earrings. Well, blue, this color blue specifically, is the color of Alopecia Awareness Month. September is Alopecia Awareness Month. And you may not know that I have alopecia. I have scarring alopecia. And I'd love to tell you the story of how I found out I had alopecia. My hair has been a long-rooted issue for me. Growing up, my hair has always been different. My mother always had thick, strong hair. And my brother, he's half Puerto Rican, so his hair was thick, but it was also a certain texture, a fine texture, where I remember one time he got locks and they put like the wax in it and it became Shirley Temple curls. Where for me, my hair, my extended family would say it was like a cotton ball, like fluff. It was thin. And although I have a 4C kind of texture to my hair was always thin and fine. And it would never grow past like maybe my shoulder, maybe like the longest. And so I always longed to have long, luxurious hair. Growing up, I wore extensions a lot. I actually, in elementary, was teased about my hair. So I always had some kind of issue with people talking about my hair. So I would hide it a lot. I didn't want my natural hair wasn't beautiful to me. And I look back and I wish I treated it better all this time. But, you know, for hindsight is 2020, right? Finally, in 2009, I got something crazy in my head where I was like, your natural hair is your strongest hair, because my hair just wouldn't grow. And I thought if I took care of my natural hair, my hair would grow and I would be able to have it grow long and healthy. And that's always what I always wanted. Just that simple thing, like long and healthy hair would make me happy. So I was like, I'm going to cut all my hair off and stay natural and never get a perm again. Because for me, a perm was toxic. It was just killing my hair. So I cut my hair off in 2009. I did the big chop. I was inspired by like some friends I knew, but also by Solange. Solange did her hair and it was like these little tiny curls, really short. And then she put like a little part in the side. And I thought that was just so gorgeous. And I was like, I want my hair to look like that. So I did the big chop and I looked really cute. Some people really loved it. Other people were like, why are you cutting your hair off? You know, I remember an ex seeing me later that year or the next year, I think. And he was like, you lost a lot of weight and you cut your hair. Do you have cancer or something? And I was like, no, I just wanted to cut my hair and I thought this was best and I look good and healthy. Like I lost weight because I wanted to be healthy and cute. So that's what I did. And I got a lot of mixed reviews from men. I remember going into a store and these two men, one was like a security guard, one was like a friend of his or whatever. They were standing around and they were like, she would be so beautiful if she wasn't a lesbian. I mean, but they didn't say lesbian. They said some other derogatory word towards me. And I was like, how dare they assume it was me? Like who I was just based on my haircut. You don't even know me. But obviously to them, short hair meant not being feminine. And you know, as a woman, you couldn't have short hair. And other guys were like, well, I don't like women with natural hair, or I don't like women with short hair. A lot of black women don't like short hair, but more so a lot of black men don't realize that they will push a black woman to not believe that her hair is beautiful if it's short or natural. they would say stuff like, well, you're not pretty. I don't think women are beautiful with their natural hair, or you look better with a perm or a wig, or, something like, I want my girl to have natural hair, but you would want a girl with a weave because that looks better to you, or a wig. But then complain about her wearing a wig, or complain about her having short hair. I remember in Friday, there's one part where the lady from Moesha, the Andell with the blonde hair, she took off her wig. She had like a Janet Jackson wig, and she was saying like she looked like Janet Jackson from Poetic Justice. And they were like, you don't look like Janet Jackson, you look like Freddie Jackson. Now, that part is funny because of, I think, Chris Tucker's delivery. But when you look at it, it's just so hateful for a woman with short hair.
Cause see, I ate twice before I came. God damn!
It's like, is it because she took off her wig that made her, or her hat that made her look ugly with short hair? That's so much of how society sees black women with short hair. And it was sad, but it's true. And it still is true. So I had the natural hair, I wore it out, and then I was growing my hair out because that was the goal, was to grow my hair to be healthy, do the big chop, and then do all the natural things, put the coconut oil, the different castor oils and stuff like that. So I was wearing my hair, loving it, and then in 2013, I decided to dye my hair red. Because I wanted something new. I wanted to be fresh and new for the new year. I was growing my hair, it was growing nicely, and I thought at that point, might as well just switch it up and change it up. And I didn't think anything of it. My scalp actually did burn when I was getting it done, but I just was like, when you put dye and stuff in it, because you got to put a little peroxide to get that color, because I have dark brown hair, it's going to burn a little. So I ignored that. It burned a little. I went on with my life. I wore it out, but I would take care of it. I'd wash it, co-wash it, do all the things that, they say to do. I was actually reading a book. I feel like the lady's name is Dr. Phoenix or something. I can't remember her name, but I will link it down below. And in the book, she talked about, it was just so helpful. I learned about how jojoba oil was the closest to your natural oil in your hair. I also learned, I know in one chapter it talked about dermatologists, and if you were losing hair, you should make an appointment to a dermatologist. That was something I never knew, and I think a lot of black women weren't aware of. So I was like, wow, that's interesting. Totally glazed over it and went to probably the next chapter or whatever. Then in the middle of the year, I went to Essence, and I had got these long braids, these twist braids, all the way to like my waist. They were gorgeous. I was living my fantasy. I was loving it, living it. And they were red. And I went to like a few different events. I went to Pitchfork that year, Essence. And while I was wearing those braids, they were really heavy on my hair. Again, my hair, the texture, even though it's a natural tight curl, is super fine. So it was pulling out my hair, and some of my hair was coming out. But I was just like, they're heavy braids, your hair comes out. So finally, I took the braids out, and I had like little bald spots. But my scalp was also burning in a way where it was super itchy. Like, it was itchy, but it was burning at the same time. And I'm like, this is super weird. I went with my sister to, in September for her birthday, to Vegas. And I wore a wig the whole time there. And I didn't go into the pool. I didn't go in the water or anything because I didn't want to take my wig off. So I was kind of like a slave to the wig. I really never loved wigs. And that goes kind of back to childhood trauma when I was younger. And I used to wear a hat. People would pull my hat off and tease me, and I would run into the bathroom. So it was always that fear of my hair falling off and people seeing my head without a wig. So so I didn't do anything too extra or crazy, but I wore this wig the whole trip. And then I came back, and it was just, I was still I even told my sister at that point, like, my hair is burning and it's bothering me, and like everybody was like, oh, whatever, you should have dyed your hair, you shouldn't have did this, do that. I started to realize that my hair was just falling out, and I was like, you know what, my hair always sheds and always falls out. Maybe, going back to that book that I was reading, maybe I should go to the dermatologist and find out what it is. And my fear was I had lupus. When I was younger, I was in maybe 6th to 5th grade. My mother had a friend who actually, children also went to the school with me, and she had lupus, and her saw her hair, and she had locks, and her hair was like really thin in some spots and bald in others. And I asked her, like, what happened to your hair? And she's like, I had lupus. She ate really organic and natural, and I didn't realize at that time why, but it's because she had lupus and she was trying to fight it organically and naturally. And so, yeah, so I was nervous that I might have lupus, but if I thought, I thought what was most likely was I had like some kind of missing vitamin or supplement that I needed. So I was like, all right, it could be, I think it's as simple as that. So I looked up dermatologists. I looked for like the best in New York, kind of expensive. I think he was like upper Manhattan, like uptown. And I guess, yeah, uptown, upper east side, upper west side, one of those places. So I went, and he looked at my eyebrows. He said, your eyebrows are thin. I was like, okay, thanks for telling me. He said, he looked at my nail beds, and he was like, your nails, they have these little white marks on it. I was like, okay. He was like, we're going to do a biopsy and take a little piece out of your scalp, and then we'll get back to you in a couple of weeks. And I said, okay, no problem. So, he actually told me a few of the things that I might have. Like I asked, I'm one of those people who, if I go to the doctor, I'm asking 20 questions. I'm asking questions about the questions. I want to understand, and I want you to tell me everything that I have and what the issue could be. So I'm a Google MD. So I actually Googled some of the things ahead of time. After he told me about it, read up a bit. But I just said, worst case, best case scenario. Because I just wanted to like kind of solve this mystery, because my hair always had issues. So I went back to the doctor, and when I went back, he was like, okay, so I have some news for you. You have Lichen Planopilaris. I'm like, what? Lichen Planopilaris. It's an inflammatory disease, or you can say also it's immunodeficiency disease, and your body pretty much attacks your hair follicles. And it burns, it pretty much kills it does it until it kills the hair follicles. And I started to bawl and cry. I felt so devastated, because I felt like my hair was so much of my beauty. Men would never find me attractive, or who would find me attractive? And would I find myself attractive or love myself? And it was really hard. It was really tough that day. And he said, well, we can do this for you. We can give you a prescription to some steroids. He didn't say steroid, but this cream that you have to put on. And then you could also use Rogaine. So I said, okay, no problem. And then you can come back in a few weeks and tell me how that works out. So I did that. I came home and I did it religiously. But mind you, at this time I actually was freelancing. So I was very free in a way that I could cover up my hair and just put on this cream every day. But if I had to go to work every day, that means I would have to wear a wig. Because another thing, I wasn't really supposed to pull up my hair. I really couldn't do anything to it. I wasn't really supposed to comb it or brush it or pull it or tug on it, because that could also help me lose more of my hair. So how could you not comb your hair but grow your hair out? And especially when you have tight curls, it would just make it lock and be a big mess. You know what I mean? Because you wouldn't be able to do anything. So I went home. I would put this stuff in. I was back to my Google MD, and got the Google MD in, and I looked it up, and I couldn't find anyone with Lichen Planopilaris. I looked at black women. Well, I actually found Lichen Planopilaris in like chats, but no videos on YouTube. I found a woman who had alopecia areata. So Lichen Planopilaris causes scarring alopecia. There's different things that cause scarring alopecia. A lot of immunodeficiency diseases, including lupus, actually cause scarring alopecia, where it could be gradual, where it will burn at that spot and kill the hair follicles until you don't have any hair. So you'll have like different patches with no hair. This woman had, I think, alopecia areata, which is like, I think, male pattern baldness. And she was talking about how she was taking the steroid, or how she was going to, but she chose not to, or something like that, because she wanted to have kids with her husband, and they told her not to take it at the time. And I was like, I'm taking this steroid. And if someone doesn't want you to take it when you have kids, why should I be able to take it as without kids? Like, that's so unhealthy for me. And I really wanted to do it natural, because I didn't want to be so shallow where it would impact my personal health. That was important to me. And I think also at this point, my mom had passed. My mom passed when I was 22, I believe. And for me, it was just like, try to be the healthiest you could be. And try to avoid as much unnatural-ish as you can. So I was like, wow, that's crazy. Then also, I just didn't see any results. I didn't see anything happening to I didn't see my scalp not burning and itching anymore. So I decided, and then also taking the Rogaine. Once you started to use the Rogaine, the doctor told me, if you stop using it ever, your hair will fall out. So you have to take it for the rest of your life. And I didn't want to be tied down to anything like that. And so I said, okay. So when I went back the next few weeks, I said, well, this doesn't work for me. He was like, well, we can inject your scalp with some other steroid thingy or whatever if you want to. And I said, let me think about it. He was like, okay, no problem. I said, what could I do naturally? He said, well, pretty much don't put any weaves or braids or anything in here that pulls your hair, but you won't listen to that. And I'm like, dude, you don't even know me. To save my hair, I will do that. That's something so simple. So I vowed that day not to do that. He also was telling me not to really brush and comb my hair. I do brush and comb my hair very little now. Brush it more so with like a wave brush. But I really try not to comb it as much as possible. Like that's one of the reasons why I keep it short. So then I never went back. I went to the doctor that day, and then I didn't go back because I realized they had nothing for me. I read the message boards, and a lot of the message boards for people with Lichen Planopilaris, they said a lot of inflammatory diseases could be caused by your diet. So there's a strict diet that you should use so you don't have inflammation. But then it's also about not using certain, it's also about less stress. So I try not to stress myself out. I try not to stress my hair. So that meant keeping it short where I didn't have to comb it too much. Every time I try to grow it out, it actually breaks off and falls out. And especially during certain times of the season, it seems like, and it could be because I'm more stressed or I have certain feelings, but it also seems like the air. I don't really know, but because there's not enough research, there's not enough told, but I just went off what the message boards were telling me. A lot of people did say they cut their hair and it was so freeing they didn't itch as much. And I realized after cutting my hair and keeping it short, I didn't itch as much. But I do have moments where my scalp has spots that are very light. Like right now, you can see on some of the sides and the back, they're like spots that are thinner than other sides. And that's because that's where hair has gone away and may never grow back. But I try to make sure I tell people. I put it on my Instagram, so it's kind of public knowledge that I have alopecia, that I have scarlet alopecia, that my hair may never grow back. People tend to ask me, oh, why don't you grow your hair out? I could tell them, or I could say it around them, or I could post it on social media, and they'll still say, why don't you grow your hair out? And sometimes I explain it, sometimes I don't. It depends on the mood I'm in. And people have given me advice, why don't you put certain oils in your hair? That is not going to work for what I have. It's not. It's not just something that it magically goes away. But with any inflammatory disease, you can definitely find the triggers that cause it, hopefully, and negate it. And so those are some of the things I try to do by keeping my hair short, not combing it, For me, I think one of the things that make my scalp itch even more is sugar. So I do try to stay away from sugar when I can. But sometimes I just indulge in sugar. And I think just having a healthy diet is important. Not that I always follow that, but that's something that I need to do if I want to keep as much hair as possible. So what I believe is that a lot more people have alopecia than know it. They say Lichen Planopilaris usually shows up in older white women in their like late 40s. I was in my 20s when I found out I had Lichen Planopilaris. I think people usually don't identify it so early on because they don't pay attention to the signs. They just think it's something maybe hormonal or something that's missing, or they just put a wig or weave and ignore what's happening. I think a lot more black women could find out that they have other diseases if they just pay attention to the signs. And also, there wasn't so much pressure on not having hair or so much stigma on alopecia and hair loss. Because if more people felt free, they would go investigate and figure it out. And more people share their stories, then more people would understand it's not just people who are born with alopecia and don't have eyelashes and eyebrows. They would realize that there is scarring alopecia. There is alopecia areata, and it would become more normalized. I ask, if you do have alopecia, please share your story with me. I am open to hearing your stories. I'm open to sharing my experience. If you don't have alopecia and you know someone who may have it, be kind. If you see somebody who just has thin edges in the front, be kind. Give them some grace because you don't know what they're going through and you don't know how hard it is for them. So that's what I would ask. And for me, the real reason I was signaled was because I was reading that book by Dr. Phoenix, which I've linked down in the description, so you can totally check it out if you'd like. But that really helped me. And I don't know where I will be next with my journey, but I'm hoping I can be a voice for people who are afraid to speak up, for someone who's afraid to say that they're losing their hair. And I also hope that I find someone who loves me regardless of if I lose all my hair or if I lose a limb, they would still love me the same. And I think that's what real love is. I think losing my hair has really made me less shallow of a person, has really made me consider the difference. When someone comes up to me and they tell me about someone who's bald, a guy or a girl, or if someone's hair looked messed up, I can say I can't judge because I'm just so grateful to have any hair. And one day I might not have hair. So I'm always looking at the other side of things. And I hope you would do the same. Because it's tough and it's hard. It's hard to be that person who's losing their hair. Because it signifies so much about your health to the world, that something's wrong with you. And I think everyone in a way wants to fit in. As much as like I'm who I am and I'm so unique and I'm this and I'm that, it makes you stand out in a room full of people regardless. When you're losing your hair or you have a bald spot or all your hair is cut off. I'm so grateful for the people in my life who think I'm beautiful regardless. I'm so grateful for becoming the woman I am right now, who looks at myself in the mirror with short hair, thinning hair, and I'm like, you're great, you're amazing, you're beautiful. I do a lot of self-talk to get myself through it. And if you are someone with alopecia, I'd love to tell you that you're beautiful and that you're amazing, and don't let anyone else tell you any different. I'd like to thank you all for listening to my hair journey. I'll probably have more things to say in the future as things, progress, or maybe they won't progress. I won't lose any more hair. Either way, I thank you so much for following me. Peace.